All right, here we go. We have a lot to cover in this video, but first, you guys know the deal. Hi, I'm Mike. Welcome to our Motivation USA brief unboxing, where you can buy anything, everything premium for your motorcycle. But before we go any further, let's take a moment to take out some of that YouTube stuff. I'm gonna need you to hit that thumbs up. It helps us get good with the algorithm. Watch the video from beginning to end. Then I'm gonna need you to smash that subscribe button. Growth. We need it to keep these videos coming. All right. Without further ado, the long-awaited install. I know you guys are excited for this because the first impression video did extremely well. I'm gonna show you the process of what it took to actually get that exhaust on. A lot to cover. Let's get into it. By the way, I highly recommend this exhaust. Dope as fuck. Stay focused and kind of get this done as quickly as possible. We're gonna remove the OEM exhaust and then throw on the 212 CRT titanium exhaust by SE Project. Of course, the best in the game. This is what I have on all of my bikes. We're gonna start off by removing the lower fairing to disconnect the servo wirings, right? And then from there, we're gonna remove the heat shield and then the sub heat shield at the very bottom. And then from there, we'll move further down. So basically, we're delayering everything. And then we're gonna go start removing all the springs off. So a total of 4 springs. And then the key bolts that are holding down the exhaust itself. And then from there, we get to the part that's a little bit tougher, which is shimmying the OEM exhaust off. In the very same vein, we will move towards the back of the bike. If you're running an OEM plate holder that's pretty long and hanging back, you will have to remove that. In my case, I have to wing it towards the back of the bike because I have the Futurist Mototel Tidy kit. I'm not sure how that is going to fit in line with the SE Project exhaust, but we'll kind of fill it out and get a general idea where we want to be, what we want to do. So let's get started doing our first step. Here we go. First start, removing this bolt. We're going to move to the bolt that's in here. We're gonna remove that. That way we can remove this part off. Now we're gonna remove this screw, that one, and this third one here, and then we should be good to go. Alright, so here we go. There are 3 screws here holding the servo motor for the valve flaps. One here, and there's one more down here. We're gonna loosen them up. That way we can kind of have access to this and remove it easily without having to pry anything weirdly out. All right, here you go. So we're gonna keep it moving. This process has been a long one. We're gonna remove my Futurist Mototel Tidy because this has to be replaced in order to complete the SE Project CRT exhaust. Now we're gonna remove this one right here. Hope you guys can make that out. So here's another one. This is the chain guard that's attached to the actual exhaust. We're gonna undo that right there at the very bottom. Hopefully you guys can make that out.
Yes. That made my heart stop.
All right, guys, just want to point something out very important to do in order to get this done properly. These two bolts that are right here, they're actually holding the kickstand down. I'm actually have my wife helping me on the opposite side of the bike. Highly recommend that you have a lift if you're doing this. It's gonna make your life a lot easier, or just take it to a technician. So what's gonna happen here, I'm gonna push the bike over. My wife is gonna hold it, and then I'm going to unscrew these two bolts. There's a hinge holding onto the exhaust at the very bottom. It makes it extremely difficult to slide it out off the pipe. So once that's taken out, it's pretty much easy peasy to pull right out. So we're gonna undo these two bolts here, all right? Now we're gonna lean the bike over so I can get access to that hinge at the bottom, and my wife will be holding on.
There. Yes.
Now that the OEM exhaust is completely off, we're gonna remove this bracket, the OEM bracket that was holding the OEM exhaust, to put the new SE Project 1 on, all right? Old bracket out, new bracket in. Now we're gonna remove the heat shield. All right, here we go. So now we're gonna remove part of this heat shield here, guys, keeping it moving. Moving on to the other side, guys, you're gonna release this other side of the heat shield. All right, so now we're gonna remove this bolt and that one, and on the opposite side. They're pretty hard to get to, so take your time, slow down. There's a set of 4 screws on each side. They're very difficult to get to, so make sure you have the right tools, or if not, get creative. If anything, use really good tools, because if you strip those, it's gonna be a bad day. So let's try to get. So you can see here I'm using an extension, smaller adapter to a tiny little wrench. Make sure it's sat really well before you start cranking away, because these are Loctite bolts. You can't strip them. There we go. This one has a barrel. Make sure you remember that. Now that this heat shield is completely loose, we're gonna snip the zip tie here, and also we're gonna unhinge these guys that are right here. Fairly straightforward. Just gonna slide that out. There you go. So that's out now, and we are free to keep it moving. Just gotta undo this zip tie. This is why I always tell you guys, go slow and just kind of move things lightly before. So it's a little bit hinge here. You don't want to use any force, because if you look right at the bottom here, there's one more component that is zip tied to that plastic cover. I don't know if you guys could make that out. I actually have to use the flashlight on my phone. You will spot that one item that's zip tied. That's very difficult to get to. But I'm assuming if a master technician was working on this, they would have pulled off the gas tank. That would have given them that ample amount of space, which means, you know, you're gonna have more time for the actual labor, which is probably required. That's the proper way. But yeah, there's little tricks around. So we're gonna kind of try to shimmy our way and cut that zip tie. So right in there. It's probably hard to make out, but it's definitely inside there. There you go. Fuel hose is out. Go to the next side. What you guys are looking at here, these are the 2 other hose, a breather hose, and then the overflow hose is right here. What I did, I put a zip tie here. That way these clamps don't fall down into the bike and get lost forever. I'm using that as a little catcher. And then we're just gonna pry this hose down. Again, you wanna be careful with these actual hose here when you are. That way you don't have any issues of puncture or anything weird. Now we're gonna remove this clip here and then do the same. There you go. Clamp's finally off. It's a reusable clamp. It's a little bit of a toughie to get out, but you could definitely get that out. We're gonna remove this as well. And then from there, let's get the tank off, guys. There's one harness at the bottom here we need to disconnect, so you're gonna pry that open, have something hold it up, and then from there you'll be able to remove the gas tank. So everything's been loosened, all the hoses have been detached on both sides. Also, we have a harness at the very bottom. I'm gonna pry this open just to get to the harness, and then we'll lift. Got it?
Got it.
Okay. There we go. Got it. All right, let go. Woo, boy. Watch out, sweetie. There we go. Here we go, guys. We're gonna work on removing that subframe. You probably seen my clothes changing back and forth. All of this work is not being done in one day. So I'm just gonna loosen it so I have access to it. Let's see here. No, that's it. There we go. See, now you have a little bit of play on the subframe. If you don't want to take the whole thing out, that's fine. As of now, let's see if we can get this out. Yeah. Getting close. Okay. I think these are the ones I gotta. See.
Yes, that was working much more. Yep. Yes. Yes. That's great.
And now slowly.
There we go. Oh my god, this way.
There we go. Now we got all that stuff out. We have all the clearance in the world that we need to do God's work. Well, the Italians' work. Alright, so quickly what we're looking at here above, this is the subframe, and we're seeing the lambda connector, the suspension, electronic suspension wiring, and then you also have the electronic that goes to the gas tank. I'm just going to zip tie things and clean them up. ST Project does not really explain exactly on how to do it really, so you're going to have to use your own intuition and make it work, or make it as clean as possible where it's going to be ideal. So do this at your own discretion, and then I'd say do it in a way that's gonna be clean and you're not gonna be able to see it at the bottom, and it's not gonna touch the header. So I start by putting most of the zip ties somewhat loose, just to kind of get a space for them and organize things a little bit, and then from there making everything looks really clean. So most of the hard work is somewhat done now. I'm just gonna show you how the new carbon fiber by ST Project is gonna fit on. It's gonna be just like that. So I'm just doing a mock-up placement real quick, just like that, to show exactly where each one of these guys are gonna line up before starting to button things up. Still looking at the harness, I pre-placed all the zip ties. I haven't tightening anything down yet. All zip tie complete, but I just have all the placements fitted and ready to go. I figured out a nice layout for all the wiring to make it nice and clean and nothing's being tugged or pulled or being rubbed by any situation. And there's enough slack on everything. And also I have this clip here too. So what I'm gonna do is basically clean up all the excess zip ties and then we'll put on the tank and finish up. SE project does include 3 pipe clamps and pipe plates. Since you're gonna retroactively fit stuff there, you're gonna find a proper placement for them on the pipe before going any further. So let's put them together. Basically gonna slide that just like that. And that's it. Those are gonna be filtered through the wire clamps. There we go. All right. This is exactly what you're gonna end up with in the end. Hopefully you guys can make this out. You're gonna run your pipe clamp. Since you kind of mocked up, you're gonna pass it through. Alright guys, so we've placed all of our clamps, pipe clamps on. You're not completely tightening it down. I kind of did a rough area of where each of them are gonna go. So there's one right here. Hopefully you can see that. There's one here below, and there's one by the Olin electronic suspension on the back. I'm just gonna somewhat tighten them, basically hand tighten, not like completely done or anything like that. Also, one good tip, you wanna find a position that you can actually have access to screw these things on. Here's a good little tip, guys. You're gonna get yourself a painter's marker, and you're gonna mark where the actual mounting bracket's supposed to be. Now each one of these clips are all in place, except that one, it goes a little bit further back, but I'm just pre-tightening it, just so I could place it in the proper area. All are in place, and now we're gonna place on the heat shield. Here we go, everything's tightened down, prepped to go. Now we're gonna place the first heat shield. Oh, perfect. I'm not gonna fully tighten them. Loosely placed. All right, here we go. So guys, we're gonna put the first titanium mid pipe here. That's the first entrance. The second, for the second header, is gonna be on the back. Make sure you wear gloves. You don't want your fingerprints getting burnt on there. Guys, before putting on the new exhaust, the mid pipe, you're gonna put a little bit of NTC's lube right here. You're also gonna put it over here as well, and over here. That way it makes it easier to slide these components in. Alright, here we go. So we're gonna slowly start buttoning things up. Some of these pieces that are provided by ST Project, I'm gonna throw them on there and then hand tighten everything. Moving on to the final link pipe, we're gonna drop these little guys in here. That way we can screw the carbon fiber heat shield on. All right, so we seem to be at an impasse with the SE Project CRT exhaust for the StreetFighter V4S, and I want to kind of explain what's happening here and the two choices you have in order to make the exhaust work. Again, this fitting is not OEM style. You know, if we were to go with what Ducati recommend, it's an underbelly exhaust mount. SE Project went with the undertail exhaust mount. So you have two options. You can use this exact bracket if you don't want to have license plate or turn signal, or if you don't have a tail tidy kit. Unfortunately, the Futurist Moto tail tidy I have is not compatible. You cannot fit both of them all together. So that's one dilemma. This is how it would look like if you were to use this exact setup. Basically, the wiring would be tucked away on the inside of the bike, and then you would slide this bracket in as if it's like the OEM. Hold on, let's see. So this is the look that you would have with the exhaust. The exhaust would probably be fitted right here, the hinge to kind of hold it together. And again, if you're not looking to have license plate, bracket on the bike, you can use this mount. But if you want to go with OEM setup, where you would still have turn signals and have a place to mount your license plate, you can use this exact bracket. That's what they recommend if you want to stick with the OEM setup, and you can still mount the exhaust. Again, you have to compromise and pick and choose which one you want to kind of go with. Fortunately for me, I always keep all my OEM components. I'm probably going to mount the original giant fin back on because I do not want to ride around without rear turn signals, and I do not want to ride around without a license plate. Again, ride responsibly and ride respectfully to others that's on the road and to police officers. So until I find another solution, I'm gonna throw that back on. So this is going to be your OEM giant fishtail style. I'm gonna flip it over just like that. This bracket basically goes in just like that, and as you can see with the bracket in place, you can mount the exhaust here, and then you still have access to your OEM turn signals and a place to put your license plate. So again, this is a choice you would have to make, because think about it, the SE Project is a race exhaust designed for racing. So in most cases, you would not throw this back on. You would technically throw the exhaust on and use it for your race bike, but they still give you this option for you to actually mount back your OEM setup. So shout out to them. It might not be pretty when you do the no tail tidy kit on and basically delete your turn signals and a place to put your plate, but at least they give you both options. I wonder if I could slide that in as I'm going.
That's what I'm saying to you earlier.
Align that or no? It has to be, I think down is easier though. Let me see.
It's in though, but it's just you know, put it in mine.
Now that we're all done, what we're gonna do, guys, is gonna use either alcohol or WD-40. I did wear gloves when I touched the titanium, but still take added precaution because once you fire it up the first time, it will embed your fingerprints or any kind of imprints on the bike. So either alcohol or WD-40. If you do use WD-40, it might smoke a little bit when you launch the bike, but it'll be just fine. So let's wipe this down. Here we go. First startup of the exhaust without the flash on there. This is a cold start, by the way, so let's get it. Hopefully it doesn't blow up, right?
Sure. I'm very excited.
Wrapped up. This is what it looks like from the side view, guys. Absolutely amazing. It sounds just as good as it looks. Looking forward to doing some flybys for you guys, cold starts, and give you a long term and show you how the pipes kind of become bluish and purple as heat cycles through the titanium. All right, thank you for watching. So, you made it this far into the video, so congrats, hit that thumbs up. Of course, help us get into the algorithm. That's what we do. We do this out of love, you know what I mean? Now, there's a few things that I have to highlight regarding this install, guys. If you're not prepped and ready to tackle this task, we highly recommend that you buy the exhaust, have it shipped to an official dealership, and have them professionally install it for you so you don't have to worry about anything. It does require that you have specialty tools, a lift, which I did not have for this install, which made it a little bit more challenging. These are a few things you want to consider before making a decision whether you're going to do it yourself or have someone else do it. Again, I do this for the love for you guys. I did it for that particular reason. If not, I would have just paid and gotten this done, because it was definitely a handful and a very wild experience for certain. All right, as recommended, use your parts purchase to support the store at Support Your Sport. Motivation USA gives back to the riding community with everything from safety seminar courses and worldwide racing sponsorships. For the most trusted parts and accessories, shop motivationusa.com. All links, every single one of those links will be in the description down below. And remember, ride safe and ride often.